Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on behalf of the California Legislative Black Caucus to present ACR 190, which recognizes June 19, 2022 as Juneteenth, a day to celebrate the end of slavery in the Confederate South, as we honor the significance of African American history to this state and this country at large.
Ms. Bonta, please state your point of order.
Can I ask that the chamber be silent while we hear this resolution?
That point of order is well taken. As I've noted, members, please take your conversations off of the floor or take your seats at this time. We are at the observance of Juneteenth. Thank you, Ms. Bonta. And Mr. Jones-Sawyer, you may continue.
Thank you, Ms. Bonta. June 19, 1865 is the date when news of freedom reached the last enslaved people in the Confederate South, almost 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Ironically, African Americans came to this continent as enslaved persons in 1619. 155 years later, this country created a constitution which started this country in 1776, and we were still enslaved people, chattel slaves. In 1863 is when the Emancipation Proclamation happened. That's 87 years later, and we were still slaves until that time. And unfortunately, in Texas, 2 years later, that's when the last African Americans in this country were free from chattel slavery. This country has been in existence for almost 246 years. My people were enslaved for 242 years. Almost as long as this country has been in existence, African Americans were enslaved. On this day, over 3 million Black Americans were freed from chattel slavery, thus marking the beginning of the fight to secure freedom for those still enslaved and provide fair and equal treatment for the formerly enslaved. Today, Juneteenth is a time to reflect and rejoice in all of the work that took place to reach this point. It is a time for assessment, self-improvement, and planning for the future. Juneteenth is also a reminder that true equality is not accomplished overnight. True equality must be fought for tirelessly and diligently to ensure that we as a state and country are moving towards a more equitable and fair society. I will note there have been significant efforts by both federal and state governments to acknowledge and address the history and plight of African Americans, but we still have a long way to go. June 19th is an opportunity to educate all communities that we may not repeat the injustices and abuses committed in the past, especially at a time when other states are attempting to pass laws reminiscent of the Jim Crow South. Members, this Sunday will mark 157 years of freedom celebrations, but also 157 years of struggle, determination, perseverance despite the odds. Let's continue reflecting upon Black American history, and working to break down barriers that persist in our communities. I respectfully ask for co-authors